Wave of explosions has rocked Tehran as the US warns today will bring the most intense strikes on Iran since the war began. The US Defense Secretary says the capabilities of Iran are weakening, revealing the regime fired the fewest missiles since the conflict started. Washington insists it will end the war on its timeline, with Donald Trump controlling the throttle of the conflict.
But Iran remains defiant, launching fresh missiles right across the Gulf. Back home, 2 more women have escaped, joining 5 Iranian women footballers now under Australian protection. The rest of the team has now left Australian shores, their fate now uncertain under the regime in Tehran.
We have a team of reporters on the front line in Israel, the United States and here in Canberra. Let's go live now to Jacqueline Robson in Tel Aviv. Jackie, the Iranian regime continues to be reduced to rubble.
Yes, Nat, the US Defense Secretary had said that the most intense strikes were coming, and for the residents of Tehran, they say they certainly felt that today, that the explosives shook neighbourhoods. There were rescue crews picking through the rubble, trying to clean up after bombs dropped right across the region there. Local media say Isfahan and Karaj were also targeted. These are the nuclear sites that were the focus of that 12-day war back in June, when the US claimed to have eliminated and obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. While here in Israel, it seems that Iran's missiles are few and far between. They've decreased significantly, and that is in line with the Americans, who say that the missile capabilities have dropped to now about 10%. But there still has been attacks right across the region. 1 woman was killed in Bahrain. There were interceptions in Qatar and the UAE. Israel continues its assault on Beirut too, trying to snuff out Hezbollah. The death toll there is climbing towards 500 people, and there are tens of thousands displaced as the fighting continues. But Iran's foreign minister has spoken today, saying they have rejected ceasefire proposals from France, China and Russia. Guys?
OK, they remain defiant. Thank you, Jackie. Let's go to Rob Scott in Washington, D.C. So, Rob, America remains confident too that they're going to win this war.
Yeah, very confident indeed, Chevo. We heard today from the Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth, his 4th media briefing since the start of this war, and in his usual brash, bravado-filled style, is warning the Iranian regime if they think they've seen the worst that America has to offer in terms of firepower, well, think again, saying that today America will unleash the biggest bombing campaign of this war so far. Let's hear what he had to say.
Today will be, yet again, our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. The last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet.
Now, the Pentagon chief would not be drawn on how long he thinks this conflict will last, instead saying that Donald Trump controls the throttle. This as the US president starts to hint that the end of this conflict may be coming, but also in the same breath threatening the Iranians if they continue to block the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Well, he will up the aggression 20-fold. The response from the Iranian regime, a threat directed back at Donald Trump on social media, saying, take care of yourself so that you are not eliminated. Guys?
Thanks, Rob. Back home now. Let's go live to Isabel Mullen in Canberra. Izzy, 2 more players from the Iranian women's football team have refused to board that plane.
They have, Nat and Chevo. Good morning. This would have been just such a tough decision for them. 2 more Lionesses, we understand, a player and an official refusing to get on that flight at Sydney Airport last night, bound for Kuala Lumpur, opting to stay here in Australia. The rest of their teammates flying out at about 11:15 last night. Tony Burke, the Home Affairs Minister, on the ground there all night, conducting a series of closed-door meetings between Border Force officials and these team members, encouraging them to put their hands up if they'd like to stay. They did try to separate them from their minders, so they weren't coerced or encouraged to get on that plane if they didn't want to. For the Lionesses that are staying here, the 7 in total, they are or they will be put onto humanitarian visas. They have about 12 months to run before they can apply for permanent residency. This morning, they are waking up to a very new life here in Australia. Guys.
Okay, thank you, Izzy. Let's go live to our reporter in Melbourne, Tegan Doling. So, Tegan, petrol prices are still surging across the country.
They are, Chevo, but what our government has done here in Melbourne is they've actually brought in a new law that's going to try and prevent that price gouging at the Bowser. And what it will see is that all retailers need to put in the top price at 2 p.m. the day before. It's then got to remain that price until 6 p.m. the next day. So if you're heading out for the day, you see cheap petrol, it's still going to be that cheap when you're heading home in the afternoon. And this all comes as we're being told not to, I suppose, head to the petrol stations and fuel up, that there's absolutely no need to do that, not just yet anyway, because the supplies are quite good. Obviously, we're seeing a little bit different in some of the regional centres that don't have as much supply or as much tankers heading out to them. But Chev, I've had a look around the country this morning. It looks like unleaded sitting at around $2.19, a little bit more for diesel, except spare a thought for those out in Armidale and country New South Wales. There, it's $3.39 for petrol. It's just because of those tankers obviously not getting out to those reserves there at the moment.
Yeah, we're hearing stories about the regions right across the country either running dry or costing an absolute fortune for fuel right now.